From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of the MTN News at 530. I'm Tim McGonigal coming to you from the community of Denton. And what a difference a year makes. Last December 1st, this town was filled with smoke and fast-moving flames as the powerful west wind fire swept through town, destroying homes and businesses, including the town's iconic grain elevators. Now, one thing that wasn't destroyed, the spirit of this resilient community. Coming up in the next half hour, we'll hear from the town's fire chief about that unforgettable day, as well as a man rebuilding his home, literally rising from the ashes. And if you remember, the west wind wasn't the only devastating fire on that day. We'll also look back at the Gibson Flats fire just outside of Great Falls. But first, a year ago today, it was uncharacteristically warm for the beginning of December and windy as well. A sharp contrast to today, where residents are struggling to see temperatures climb out of the single digits. And there's a lot of snow in the forecast as well. For more on that, let's send it back to the studio where Ryan Dennis is standing by with our first forecast.
Montana Governor Greg Gianforte continues his 56-county tour of Montana. MTN's Tim McGonigal has joined him this week and has an update this morning from Phillips County. Specifically, he joins us now live from Malta. Good morning, Tim.
That's right. Good morning, Shannon. And from what I understand, the weather here in Malta is a little bit nicer than Great Falls. We're going to have a nice, beautiful day, about 45 degrees right now. And anyway, enough of that. We'll quit teasing you with that weather update. But I do have Governor Greg Gianforte. Thank you again for joining us here. You're on your 56-county tour. And yesterday, you stopped at the Fort Belknap Reservation. And earlier in the week, you were at the Blackfeet Reservation. And you say you've made some progress, you think, both sides, in just coming to the table and talking, which is very important.
Well, I think as Montanans we share so much more in common than separates us, but it's hard to find that common ground if you don't have a relationship. I recently had the Fort Belknap Tribal Council to our home in Helena for dinner, and yesterday I returned their colors. They flew in front of the Montana State Capitol because we put up new colors, we put up a new flag.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Well, good evening, and thanks for making MTN your election night headquarters. You've been watching CBS coverage throughout the night, and for the next half hour, we're going to focus here on the Treasure State. There's a lot to get to, starting with the race for Montana's Eastern Congressional District. As we take a look at the latest numbers here, Congressman Matt Rosendale, a Republican, facing Democrat Penny Ronning, Independent Gary Buchanan, and Libertarian Sam Rankin. And with about 8% of the votes reporting Rosendale with a fairly sizable lead at this point, 50% of the votes to 27% for Buchanan. Taking a look at those other two candidates, Ronning and Rankin, 21% and 1% respectively. I'm Tim McGonigal in Great Falls. Curious about hobbling? Find out all you'll probably ever want to know when the Act Normal Theater Troupe presents an adaptation of a Stephen King classic. I'll have a preview. I'm Tim McGonigal in Great Falls. When we think about gangs, most people probably assume they are confined to larger areas such as Los Angeles, Las Vegas, or Denver. But as we continue our Two Americas series about the America you know and the America you don't, you might be surprised to find out that gangs are present right here in Big Sky Country.
So Southside representing Serrano. Serrano represented by the number 13.
For those who doubt a gang presence in the Electric City, the writing is on the wall.
We are getting graffiti. Graffiti's popping back up. There was a delay, like late 90s, early 2000s. We had the drive-by shootings, and we had graffiti, and we'd had assaults and drugs and intimidation, all that kind of stuff. And they were well organized.
Sergeant Jeff Beecroft has been with the Great Falls Police Department for nearly 33 years and has extensive experience with gangs.
All about the drug trade.
Beecroft was part of a Safe Streets gang task force from 2006 to 2012. He says the group was effective before being discontinued because the FBI wanted to go in a different direction.
We were taking a lot of the guys off the street that were causing a lot of problems for our community.
At the Cascade County Sheriff's Office, the detention center has a designated gang coordinator.
Collecting the information, tracking, keeping track of the things going on. The floor officers are an excellent job of taking, as we say, checking the weather, seeing what's going on the blocks, if anybody's talking. Is anybody making any moves?
Officer Morris, a Marine Corps veteran who has been in the position for just a few months, has experience to draw upon.
8% of our current inmates are either gang affiliated or suspected to be gang affiliated.
Sergeant Mike Lenahan is a 10-year veteran of the detention center, with much of that time spent as the gang coordinator.
So NP is Native Pride.
So my job was to interview all of the inmates when they came into the facility, identify which ones were gang members, what gangs they were with, how active they were, what their rank was within the gang, and to also learn as much as I could about the different gangs.
The different, mostly race-based gangs include Hispanic groups such as the Norteños and Sureños, the Bloods and Crips, Native or hybrid gangs which include Native Pride, Dene Pride, and Warrior Society. There are also white supremacist gangs.
I wasn't just identifying them, but also making sure that within that different housing units that we had a good mix of people from all the different gangs so that no one gang became too powerful.
Lenahan says during his time at the jail there haven't been any serious gang incidents, mostly one-on-one fights. Like Beecroft, Lenahan and Morris say much of the gang activity in Montana is a result of the drug trade.
Within Great Falls and within this facility, I would say 99% of our gang activity is drug-related.
Beecroft says Montana does have its share of homegrown, fully documented gang members, many of whom are in prison. He says just because someone might be termed a wannabe gangster doesn't make that person less dangerous.
But they're still doing the crimes that gangs and gang members do. You know, they're involved with guns and they're involved with drugs and they're, vandalism.
In Great Falls, Tim McGonigal, MTN News.
You're watching the MTN 530 News.
All right, welcome back to the Pacific Steel and Recycling Arena inside Montana Expo Park. It's the Great Falls Gun and Antique Show. We're very proud to be joined by Bob Snyder with High Standard Incorporated out of Fairfield. Bob, tell us what you've got here.
Well, we custom build target pistols. High Standard's been around since 1932, and my brother-in-law and I, Russ Gray, and we custom build these for target shooters.
Okay. How long have you been coming to the Gun and Antique Show?
I've been coming for 20 years.
Okay, so you've been here quite a while. Why should people come on out?
Well, it's a good place to hang out if you like firearms or antiques or jewelry, or there's just a little bit about everything here. So.
Right. Speaking of jewelry, for Bob and his wife, it's a family affair because to my right is Carrie Gray. And Carrie, you've got Montana Chick Jewelry Studio. You've got some wares here. Tell us what you've got.
Yes, I have tons. I have 4 tables actually of handmade jewelry, and it's a combination of recycled rusty washers and shoe horns, all the way up to bling, lots of bling and turquoise and sterling and onyx and all kinds of stones. So it's just a combination. You're
doing some recycling, and that's kind of appropriate because it's Earth Day, right?
That's right. It's always good to repurpose.
Carrie, why do you think people should come on out to this show?
This show has such an amazing diversity of things, not just guns and jewelry, but books and sewn items and things for women and men and kids. And so it's just, you can never know what you're going to find at the gun shows.
All right. Carrie Gray, Bob Snyder, thank you both so much. Good luck with this weekend's event. And we're going to send it over to Ryan for a sneak peek at the weather.
Well, time now is 5:27. This morning, the debate over a more than 500-unit apartment complex proposed in one north central Montana city continues. The plan is heading to city commissioners after getting approval from the city's planning board. As MTN's Tim McGonigal reports, some area residents are concerned about the scale of the project and how it will impact public safety.
It's no secret there's a need for more housing in Great Falls, and while the proposed 513-unit Rivers Edge apartment complex at the Dick's RV location would help alleviate some of that crunch, some people are concerned about the safety issues the development could create. Traffic is calm on a Sunday morning on 13th Avenue Southwest near Dick's RV Park. But if a proposed apartment complex becomes a reality, that could change.
as a police officer who served here for 31 years and worked some of these streets and is familiar with the traffic issues and public safety issues. And really, to me, this is more of a safety concern.
The rezoning proposal will go before the City Commission Tuesday before having a public hearing in March. In addition to the apartments, it proposes an adjacent tract bordering the Sun River, which would be used as a park with outdoor amenities. It's received approval from Neighborhood Council 1 and the Great Falls Planning Advisory Board and Zoning Commission. Currently, the site has just one access point off of 13th Avenue Southwest. A second, yet to be designed mandatory emergency access point off of 6th Street Southwest is something resident Brian Lockerbie says presents a whole new set of challenges.
I've driven police cars with lights and sirens through that intersection for years. If you look at heavy traffic at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, getting through there is a nightmare. I know people are trying to get out of the way.
Another concern, increased traffic near the development.
Certainly, we were very aware of the traffic impact. I mean, you don't have growth and development without some level of impact.
The city used a third-party engineering firm to conduct a traffic study. Among the recommendations is adding stop signs on 13th Avenue Southwest and the city monitoring speed, safety, and traffic volumes in the area. It gave the intersections impacted by the development a letter grade. At January's planning meeting, Spencer Woith represented developer Jesse Craig.
Our intersections are at A and B levels. C levels are acceptable. Is like the baseline. That's good. Anything above C is great, and then when you get below C, then they start failing.
The study said the new complex would generate just over 2,300 gross trips per day. Lockerbie says another safety concern is the increased traffic at the exits leading to and from the development.
There's not a day that goes by where a horn's not honking 2 or 3 times, whether it's a semi or somebody else, because a vehicle didn't know how to merge correctly.
Another resident voiced concerns about what he calls a choke point at a single-lane rail underpass near the development. White says while a standard city road is 31 feet wide, the section in question is only 29.5 feet wide, but still more than adequate.
Here's a picture of 2 3/4-ton pickups passing each other underneath that. There is plenty of space to get underneath that. The fire department has gone out and confirmed that there's no issues with their vehicles on heights or any concerns from their end on the emergency access side of things.
Lockerbie also took issue with an urban blight report he says contradicts the traffic study by saying roads in the area are substandard and none of the streets in the district have sidewalks or curb and gutter. Raymond told Lockerbie through email the blight study is an attempt to sell the city on a need to set up a special incentive program for the project. Raymond says he understands the concerns of residents like Lockerbie, but the impact of the project might not be as severe as some may think.
What we find traditionally is that the reality ends up being far less than the fear. You know, I mean, yes, there's impact, but it's not going to be likely to be as bad as you are afraid it's going to be.
The developer's going to be gone. And then what? 20 years, 5 years down the road, we're still dealing with a congestion issue. You can't make the road any wider.
In Great Falls, Tim McGonigal, MTN News. Tonight, an update on a story from earlier this week. A major apartment project in a Great Falls trailer park is now off the table.
This is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening, and thank you for trusting KRTV for your 10 o'clock news. I'm Tim McGonigal. First tonight, we have an update to a story we brought you last night. A major apartment project in a Great Falls trailer park is now off the table. Craig Development out of North Dakota was hoping to rezone the Great Falls RV Park, previously known as Dick's RV Park, and they wanted to turn it into a 513-unit apartment complex. Great Falls Planning and Community Development Director Craig Raymond told MTN that he was asked earlier today by the owner to stop the rezoning, and the parties asked to cancel the purchase agreement. The project was scheduled to be presented to the Great Falls City Commission at its meeting earlier tonight. The project was also scheduled for a public hearing in March. In addition to the rezoning, the developer was seeking the creation of a tax increment financing district, which under state law would require proof that there is blight in the area. The project had received planning board and neighborhood council approval. However, some residents expressed concern about increased traffic and safety and emergency access. We all know how I love bobbleheads, and this is bobblehead greatness here. It's not quite life-size Snoop Dogg, but pretty good size. Thank you for that weather update, Ryan. And that is going to wrap it up for this special edition of the MTN News from Four Seasons Arena in Great Falls. We're
Leaving for now, but the party is just beginning. The annual Margarita Meltdown to support Eagle Mount Great Falls goes on until midnight. Doors open at 5:30. If you haven't got tickets, they are available at the door until they are sold out. We're going to be back at 10 o'clock. So come on out, enjoy the beach, help a great cause, Eagle Mount Great Falls. I'll be back in the studio with Ryan at 10. We'll see you then. Snoop Dogg, what do you say? Faux shizzle. That's right. Mind if I touch your dreads and bobble your head? All right. Have a great night, everybody.